Hi, welcome to the Well of Wellbeing. My name is Gracia. Today we have a very special panel of 4 moms and a very good friend and a psychologist that I work with. So I'll let them introduce themselves. We start with Caroline.
Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Caroline and I am a clinical psychologist that works alongside Gracia. And part of my job is working with women and families who have had babies. So I've been working through all of this lockdown experience, just hearing how they're getting on and supporting the families through that. So I'm just joining today to hear about these girls' experiences.
Thanks, Caroline. Pauline.
Hi, my name is Pauline Gallagher. I live in Glasgow, in the east end of Glasgow. I'm a mom of a 4-year-old, a baby that was just born just before the lockdown.
Pauline, you mean 4 months old?
4 months, yeah.
Okay. You found more than him, which is absolutely fine.
Does it feel like 4 years, Pauline?
No, it's not that bad.
That's cool. Thanks, Pauline, for that amazing icebreaker. Fiona.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Fiona Schubert, and my daughter Elise was born the end of March, so the 23rd of March, actually, the day that the lockdown started. And yeah, I live in the opposite side of Glasgow to Pauline, the west side in Yoker, and I'm married to Johannes. And yeah, it's been an interesting experience with having our first baby during this period.
And Anita.
Hello. So my name is Anita. I am a mummy to 3 little boys. I've got Jack, who's 4, Joel, who's 2, and Jacob, who was born on the 28th of March. You can hear one of them deciding that he's 4 and not 2. But Jacob was born on the 28th of March, so he is about 3 months now, so he's our newest little addition. And a little bit about me: I'm a stay-at-home mummy, married, my husband works full-time, and yeah, the kids keep me busy all week long. They're very energetic.
Wow. So everyone can tell just from these amazing ladies introducing themselves that it's a treat for us to have them, and each and everything that they're going to say is to be cherished. So I'm going to be mostly keeping quiet and letting them speak. The only thing I'm doing here is really asking some questions. So the first question is really, we've heard that the babies were born in quite an interesting time that we've had. We're grateful that it's easing and we are coming out of the lockdown. We don't know how things are going to move on, but it's much better now than when each one of them was having the baby. So just wanted to find out from you guys what's been the positives and the struggles during the time. So just really one after the other. Who would like to contribute first?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. I think for me, it's afforded me time with Caleb that I might not have had, like, if things were quite normal because of different commitments and maybe needing to be different places and stuff. So it's given me that time to get to know him, to cherish those moments and see the changes like firsthand and not missing any little bit that is happening with him, and see him grow from day one, and just seeing the beauty of a new life. So I really have cherished that. We've had a lot of family time with my husband and our baby, just being together, because obviously we have nowhere to be, obviously the lockdown. So lots of family time, and that's just been really comforting and enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree as well, Pauline, with what you're saying there, because I think you kind of imagine what it's going to be like to have a baby before you obviously have one. You have a long time of imagining, 9 months, and beforehand as well, and you picture what it might be like. And for me, well, Johannes and I have, so my husband Johannes, we have kind of complicated family situation, in the fact that we have lots of different family members. Both of our parents are remarried, and so we have like double the grandparents. And so we were thinking, well, you know, we want to make sure that all the grandparents can come and see the baby. We want to make sure that all of our siblings, so the you know, their aunties, their uncles, their cousins, everyone can come and see the baby. And we were trying to figure out, you know, who comes first and when do they come and who stays here and where else do they stay. And actually, it turns out we haven't even had to think about that, and we've been missing them. So I think the positive for me is that we've been able to enjoy all this quality time with Elise, and we've been able to get to know her in a way that I think we wouldn't have if we'd been handing her around to lots of different people and we'd been having visitors every day, you know, different people coming to the door constantly. I think that's been a real blessing, and one that I didn't imagine that we would have. Obviously, it also has its struggle and its downside, and that we would have loved to be able to share her with our family and with our friends. But I think it's a really good point that you say, Pauline, because we wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise, to enjoy her just to ourselves. So that's what I keep telling everyone. We've just had her all to ourselves. It's been good.
Yeah, go on, Anita.
I was just going to say, I think for me, I've had quite a different experience. I feel quite lucky, really, that it wasn't our first baby. So we'd been through having a baby before, so I really felt for mums who were having their first baby, because especially for labour and being in hospital, a lot of things were very different. But for me, it meant it wasn't new, so we knew what to expect. Our biggest struggle, I think, probably was my mental health. During our pregnancy, I just quite suddenly became really quite depressed. I had a big struggle with that, and was placed on antidepressants during the pregnancy, which was really out of the blue. We didn't see that coming. I've had really healthy pregnancies in the past. So that was probably our biggest struggle, and of course going into lockdown, not being able to attend as many appointments and things like that. But probably the biggest positive that I could take from the whole experience was the amount of support. We've been so supported through the whole thing. From our midwife was so supportive. My husband is a key worker, and he took his annual leave. He was given annual leave that he could take, that it couldn't be moved, and we were really worried the baby would come and he would have to go straight back to work. And our midwife was determined she was going to get this baby out in plenty time for him, so she would do extra home visits. And when we went into the hospital, I was quite emotional after the birth. Jacob went into the neonatal for a night or two, and it meant I was alone on the ward. So, you know, the midwives would have a coffee with me if I was a bit upset. They moved me to my own room, so I had space to just be, because there was no visitors in the ward, which was very different. So it was quite an intense environment. You could hear everybody if you just moved in your bed. So to have a little cry, I was hiding in a toilet thinking everybody could hear me. Whereas they moved me to a little room on my own, which was such a blessing. And then we came out, and the health visitor was so there. She phoned every week. She made provision for Jack to go into nursery, so he's still been getting nursery provision, which has been a blessing. So we've just been so surrounded by support, which is really been the main thing for us, I think.
Oh, that's amazing, ladies. I just wondered, Caroline, in terms of working with moms and their babies during lockdown, what would you say is a positive?
Yeah, I think to reiterate what the girls have already said, that a lot of them, particularly dads that I've worked with that maybe have been not having to go into work, so they've had that much longer time rather than maybe the normal 2 weeks that they maybe get. So I think they have been really grateful for just being able to spend that time as a family, and trying to look at that as the big positive out of it all. But then on the flip side, that's once they get home and babies are at home and you can be that family unit. I think for my part of my job, when they have either been in the neonatal unit or prior to, just even during pregnancy, that difference between the expectation that you have and then the reality has been quite different. And the visiting, understandably, was all kind of shifted and changed, and all the restrictions that were in place has been a real challenge as well, just to manage practically, but also just having that support around has also been a bit of a challenge. So I totally agree with what the girls have said.
Yeah. And I think we've talked kind of like the positives, but I wondered, and Anita has told us a little bit in terms of, and she said it so beautifully, in terms of some of those struggles as well, but is anyone willing to tell us about what they found particularly difficult and challenging during this time?
Yeah.
For me, with the sorry, Pauline, I'm jumping in. On you go.
No, it's okay. You can go.
Okay. I was just going to pick up a little bit of what Anita had said about the hospital experience, because I think it was the first moment where I realised this is going to be different. Up until that point, again, as I said, the day that Elise was born, everything changed. But before that, I was kind of just thinking, well, once she's born, we'll get home and we can kind of get back to what I was thinking of was normal. I don't think it ever goes back to normal once you have a baby, but in my head, I kind of had this picture of what was going to happen. But for me, I think one of the biggest struggles was my mindset about that, because I knew that everything's going to be so different to what I'd imagined. And then, so when I was in the hospital, it was things like not being able to have Johannes with me after she was born for very long. I mean, we were very lucky and we're very grateful and thankful that they hadn't kind of changed the rules by the point she was born, so that he was allowed to stay for a little while. But the day after she was born, I had to stay in hospital for a few days, and the day after she was born, he wasn't allowed to visit at all. So I'd imagine it's similar to Anita's experience on that particular day. And that was a real struggle for me, because it was my first experience of being alone with this little baby. And obviously I think the hospital staff were very busy as well, and so I found I think slightly different from what Anita was saying, but at the time it seemed like everyone was quite panicky by the fact that it had changed, but they still wanted to make sure we were all okay, but they were just very busy. And actually I remember Anita sending me a message to say, what's it like, because I'm coming in hopefully soon. Yeah, 5 days apart. And I remember saying, actually, it's not that much different. Things are kind of as you would expect. But as I sort of observed the staff, what I noticed was they were just running around very busy. And I think, I don't know that that's different than normal. I think probably hospital staff are normally very busy. But what I found was, for me as a new mum, without having anyone else around me, I felt quite alone, and I felt as though, at least if I'd been able to have my husband there, I would have had someone to sort of talk to. Is this right? Have I got the snappy on right? How am I feeding her? Is it okay? All these things that you just don't imagine having to do on your own. And it made me, I mean, I'm amazed by those mothers that do it on their own. And I think, wow, what an amazing thing they are. It is that they're managing that on their own. So yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest things, was just realizing this is different, and yeah, looking at it and going, okay, well, I'm gonna have to get on with it, because it's not how I planned. But yeah.
I think for me, from a different perspective, obviously the hospital experience wasn't as drastic as the two of you, but because culturally, being African, and the way, that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. When a baby is born, you have people coming over, and like church folks were really good at the beginning. So they came, they brought food and stuff, which was amazing. But then, like, you sort of have this expectation of like, okay, there'll be somebody to help you maybe do the laundry so you can just focus on the baby, or to help you cook and stuff. And we didn't have that because nobody was allowed to come in. So people would come maybe and drop a meal, but they wouldn't be able to see the baby, or they wouldn't be able to come and spend time with you. And to me, that was like, oof. Like you're saying, being left on your own, but in a different way. Of course, I've got my husband, but because of the mentality, you're saying the mindset, like a cultural mindset of people just rally around you. You have your mother-in-law around you, your mom around you, sisters and stuff, and we didn't have that. So I felt like it's been maybe family has missed out a little bit on those key moments where Caleb is able to recognize faces or get attached to other people. He's great. He's attached to us, obviously, as parents. But then we're sort of like, a couple of days, last weekend, my mother-in-law came in to visit, and not came in, but she came to visit. And he was just staring at her like, who's this lady? And naturally, there'd be some real community and attachment. We've had community in a different way, but that real opportunity to just, connect, come together and rally together and have that, we've missed it. We've missed that. So that was a challenge for me because of the cultural background and stuff, but also just in like different things, like where you'd have gotten support, you can't go out. Or like I had my health visitor when she first visited, we had this program of like, you can go to book bag, you can go to different activities to help your baby's development. We couldn't do that. And so now you have to figure it out all on your own, how to play with baby. And I'm like, what do I do with this child all day apart from breastfeeding and changing nappies? And it's like, oh God, help me. My husband is working from home, but he still has to work, so I'm still on my own. And it's like, yeah, I have this human being that needs to leave. So, but yeah, it's an interesting experience. It did feel like venturing it out on your own though. So that was hard. But there is a different positive side to it. Of course, we've talked about that already, but it's like we had online communities. So I think Fiona and I were in a little new mommies group that a friend of ours created. So we just chat there in the middle of the night. One of the first times it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, like who's awake kind of thing. So, but yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Anita, what are the struggles? What's been difficult during this time?
I think just as I was saying about like my mental health, and just I don't know, we've just been really blessed. I think the other thing, possibly my husband's work. So he works shift work. So he went back to work when Jacob was just 2 weeks, and straight back into full-time shifts. So that meant night shifts, early mornings, late nights, and we obviously have the 3 kids at home. So all of a sudden there was no parks. Jack, thankfully, has been getting nursery. He gets 4 mornings a week, which has just been amazing. But he can be night shift over the weekend, and all of a sudden he needs sleep. And we have 3 children in the house and nowhere to take them, and it's really, really difficult. So we've walked a lot, which has been good for us. But yeah, that's probably been another big struggle for us. Yeah. And also, sorry, just to add, he another thing we had was he works with the general public, so we were quite concerned for a period having a newborn baby in the house that he might come into contact with coronavirus and bring that home with him. So we trusted God with it. God spoke a word to us about watching his coming and his going as he came home. I'll maybe be able to find the exact verse. I'm sure I have it written down somewhere. But God spoke to us, and all of a sudden we had a peace. No, this is okay. He can go out to work and he can come home. And we sought advice from our GP, who said, you know, your newborn baby is no more at risk than any of your other children, and that's okay. So all of a sudden we were like, no, this is fine. We can do this. We can send him back to work, and we were really reassured from that. But that was a big concern to begin with.
Absolutely. Great. Caroline, what do you think has been difficult in terms of supporting mothers during this time?
I think for me, the biggest challenge has just been the change that we've had to do in working in terms of what we've been allowed to do. You can't have as much of that face-to-face contact, which I think is just really nice to have, and you can get more out of it face-to-face sometimes than having somebody in that room. And we've just been trying to kind of like what you guys have been talking about, be a bit more creative in how we can still connect and provide that support that's needed. So the neonatal unit has been slightly different over the weeks now. At the start it was kind of all stopped and everything went remote, but that has changed over the weeks as it's gone on. But definitely for all the outpatient maternity stuff, that's had to be done over the telephone or the video kind of calls like this, which has just been new, I think, for everybody. I think my impression from what we've talked with mums, it's been still nice just to have something that's better than nothing. But even just like you were saying, all the classes and family support, because as you say, usually parents and wider communities would come together, and we just haven't been able to have that in the same way, I guess, as you would have expected. And I think what you said, Fiona, about just for a first baby and everything, just have this big expectation, like everybody does, of it going nice. And this is what I think everybody knows, things can happen that are unexpected, but not quite to this level. So I think we've talked a lot about it's okay to acknowledge that loss, if you like, that it's been different, and having to accept that it's been a bit different to what you maybe wanted and expected to have. So that's been, I guess, one of the biggest challenges that we've tried to overcome in the unit. And going forwards, just we're not sure. It's that uncertainty and unknown of how long it's going to go on for. So just thinking in the long term, how can we best support mums, which is why it's nice to come onto these things and hear just that hands-on experience, so we can take that back and think about how we can support other mums going forward with it.